welcome the beautiful, wonderful Joy to the podcast.
Thank you.
I am so pumped that you're here. I'm so grateful. So we connected in the Arrive community, and I got to learn all about you and everything you do. And before I start on my blethering here, I would love for you to tell the audience, because you can say it better than me, what you do and what got you started in it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I feel really honored to be here. So I am now in the process of finding what I love to do and what I am doing. I'm currently in a program called Made to Do This. I don't know if you ever mentioned on here, but it's a 12-week like clarity program of figuring out like what you're called to do. And I just graduated in June with my marriage family therapy degree, and that was my path for the past 27 years, whatever. Like, I was what I was supposed to be doing. And recently, my heart really redirected me to something else, to something that really brings my heart to come to life. And my heart really is to help women walk in their full authentic selves, not holding anything back, not having any mental blocks of I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or I'm a burden, or over apologizing, or all the things that women do so often. My heart is to really have women just like not having those things holding them back of who they're supposed to be and who they're called to be and who they feel like authentically they are. So I'm in the process of forming a business around that. And yeah, that's currently what I'm doing, as well as I work at a community mental health agency that I'm enjoying, but doesn't bring me to life as much as this does.
So what I love, and I'm really sorry, I'm sure this happens all the friggin' time, but I just have to do the pun. I literally, so everyone can hear, I literally brought the joy. Like, I literally brought joy here today. And if you can't feel her energy, like it, I just love it. I had to make the joke. I'm so sorry.
I figured, everyone does. So.
It was such a perfectly good pun. I was like, oh, I'm not unique, but I have to say it. What I love is that you are so transparent with the fact that you are still on this path of like figuring it all out and getting it all together. What is the tipping point, do you think, that took you from, okay, I'm in marriage and family therapy and I enjoy it, but it doesn't light my fire? What was the thing that like was that shift for you?
Honestly, I graduated and I had to take a test that took me like 5 months to study for. And I took the test and I passed. And the next step is for you to get like a supervisor in order for you to start accruing your hours, become licensed as a marriage family therapist. And I was in the meeting for my supervisor, and it was right before. I was talking to my husband about it, and I was like, I don't know, like something just doesn't feel right. I just feel like I don't want to do this. And I'm like, let me just do the interview because it's here. It's part of my job. I get a supervisor for free, which is very rare. So after the meeting, she was like, yep, this is it. I feel like we're a good fit. And I felt like even during the interview, I wasn't even showing up fully. Like, I was there maybe like 10, 15% of me. And I was like, if you think that we're a good fit and not even all of me is here, that something is wrong. And so afterwards, I literally had a breakdown. I just started crying, and I was like, I just feel like I'm in a crossroads. I feel like I'm in a crossroads of like, so like if I continue down this path, I feel like my heart was saying, if I continue down this path, a piece of me is gonna die, which is like, sounds so dramatic, but I feel like so many of us go through the life of just like, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what society tells me to do. This is what my family expects of me. So I'm just gonna go along and do that. But I feel like my heart was like, this is not us. This is not something that's gonna bring me to life fully. And I can't keep doing that because my soul's gonna die. I feel like that was like my huge tipping point of, okay, I'm feeling the burnout. I'm feeling like something is shifting, and I really want to lean into what my heart is saying. And so I told her, and I was like, hey, like, I'll get back to you if something changes, but my heart is saying something else, and I want to follow it. So, which was very bold of me to say, because I feel like that goes against everything that my Nigerian parts say for me to do. Especially with like education and masters and all of that, like the educational part that I fought for so long. This is like, I'm risking, in a sense, my whole path to do something that may somehow possibly come together, you know? But I had to be true to what I felt like I was supposed to do. So yeah.
That is so powerful. It's like you had your Mulan moment. It was like the moment of like, I can continue and everything would be okay. I'll feel like I'm dying inside, but hey, at least, you know, I'm doing what my family wants. But you went after what your heart said anyway. Something that, and you can totally say that this is not appropriate to talk about. I'm totally okay with that. But, well, obviously, because it's, you can talk about whatever you want. But I have found from a lot of Nigerian friends that I have is they have a very similar, at least culturally, they have a very similar background of like, well, my family wanted me to do the big thing, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, be a psychologist. And while it's not directly the same, I know a lot of survivors survivors of abuse, excuse me, go against, they don't listen to their heart because they've been told so often that they're not good enough, that like their only path is to be the bare minimum. So I mean, even culturally, what was it like for you to like make that shift of going, no, I'm going to do this because it's what my heart wants. It's not what my family wants. It's not what my culture wants. It's what I want. What was that like? And like you said, you were so bold in being like, nope, I'm just not going to do this. What was that like?
Yeah. I feel like, for one, I definitely got very blessed with the family that I'm a part of, because my dad, as much as he wanted to, and maybe low key did, of just like, this is what everyone else does. This is like all of like the Nigerians are successful and they're doing all this stuff, making all this money, which I do want to do eventually, of course, but not in that kind of path. But I feel like I had to make that decision for myself, because if I didn't, I for all of my life, I have gone through the path of what my family wants to do. And maybe they didn't even tell me, but it was just a part of me that felt like my worthiness came from people pleasing. My worthiness came from whatever anyone else wanted me to be, or what they wanted me to say, or whoever they wanted me to show up as. That's who I was all the time. And I feel like I would do those things and wear this mask and just smile and go with the flow, but not actually be fully happy, because it's just like my insides of myself was just like, this is not us. This is not, you're not showing up fully. And the more we do this, the more I'm losing who I am. And I feel like for this decision, I just got fed up with it, because like I said, I've been doing it all of my life, and I'm just like, okay, I'm now in this space where like I'm away from my family. Not saying my family would have changed that decision for me, but like I'm 27 years old. I'm married. I'm actually like living a life that, or in Austin, like living a life that I actually want to be living. And so if I continue down a path that makes me not happy, then what's the point? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like even in relating to relationships, like being in a relationship that I felt like I was, for one, not myself, and just doing whatever he wanted me to do in order to make him happy, because my worthiness was tied into whatever he felt like I was supposed to be, you know? And that like, I wasn't even the person who broke up with this person. I know I'm kind of making a rant, but kind of relating to what you're saying. But
oh, you're doing great. Keep going. I love this.
Okay. Because I felt like to this day, like I'm over it now, but I'm pissed that I wasn't the one that broke up with him, because if I could go back in time from who I know I am now and went into this relationship, so much would have changed. I wouldn't have put up with half the stuff that I put up with. Just like the manipulation, just like all the stuff of thinking like, oh, he loves me because he's obsessed with me, but it's like, it's not obsession, it's manipulation, and it was control and all the stuff. And I felt like I lost myself. And I felt like I could not continue to lose myself in all of these things and what everyone else was telling me to do. I have to finally decide for myself, like, this is who I want to be. And that's the path that like I'm on now, and what I want to help women through with as well, because I think so many women just do with whatever people tell them to do. You want to be the good girls that fit into society, that smile and look pretty and are quiet and are small and are limited and all these things. And I'm just fed up with it, because powerful women, I know change the world. So
yes, and amen. I can totally relate to being upset with yourself for not being the one who did the breaking up with, for not doing the dumping, for not, but because I 100%, I was discarded. I was the one who I was kicked out, like things were over and I didn't know what to do. And for a really long time, I felt like I wasn't allowed to grieve it because I was dumped. I didn't do the dumping. I wasn't allowed to acknowledge what I had gone through. But the biggest thing that I've learned, and it's a concept that I started accepting a few years ago, but really within the last 6 months has really hit home, is that I have never been so grateful to be dumped, because I would have never left. Because as much as you think like, man, things would be so different if I would have done this, but if he never would have broken up with you, there's a chance you may not even be in this place that you are right now.
Very true.
So like, as much as it sucks and it's a hit to the ego and it is so frustrating because you're like, no, I wanted to be the one, I wanted to be the powerful one. But the fact of the matter is you are now happily married. You are kicking ass. You are going after what you want. You literally looked at what at one point was your dream and said, no, I want more for myself. And if that is not power and inspiration, I don't know what is. Because that is so incredible. And I had to make mention of that just because I had so been there and I still get frustrated. But at the end of the day, I am so glad because I was given a gift. We were given the gift of freedom. In that moment of rejection, we were given freedom. And who knows where we would be if that wouldn't have happened. That doesn't minimize the frustration. And I don't say that to minimize what you've been through at all, but just so that you can take a step back and see how badass you really are, because that could have been something that left you flat on your face and you could have stayed there,
Right.
But you didn't.
So true.
And that's not to take away from anyone who has left, but I do feel like there's a stigma of those of us who have been dumped or discarded, whatever word you want to use, that we're not really allowed to feel what we feel. But really, we all got back up, and that's pretty freaking powerful. So
good.
mini rant on that, because it just had.
I love that.
So something else. So I love that I am probably going to keep harping back on this, but you even said it yourself, like that it was so bold of you to look at her and be like, I'll let you know if something changes, but this is not for me. My heart is telling me something different. That is bravery in its purest form. Like that is literally the reason that I've been obsessed with Mulan since I was a kid, because she just went against everything. And I relate everything back. If it's not a video game or a comic character, it's Disney. It's always something. Perfect. But like I mean, before the recording, we were talking about High School Musical. So if this is not a woman after my heart, I don't know what is. But the fact that you went through all of that and you are now determined to help other women do that too, that is so huge. So what if someone were to come to you right now, if the you from 3 years ago were to come up to you right now asking for one piece of advice, what would you give her? Have you
heard of the book called Untamed?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it yet. It's on my list.
It's changed my life and it's rocking my world. And I just read a chapter recently that was just like, it encompassed everything that I'm like going after and also like what I want to do in my business. And I was like, thank you for writing this one page because it changed my life. But something she mentioned was so many women would rather have acceptance and connection with other people rather than respecting themselves. And I feel like that is 100% true, because in reality, the reason why we feel like we can't fully show up is because we would rather be accepted by others and we feel like the fear of rejection. It's very vulnerable to show up fully all the time. And it's a choice. And I feel like what I would tell myself or tell anybody in reality is just like choosing to respect yourself is going to be the most rewarding and the best decision you're ever going to make, rather than choosing to fit in with people who don't allow you to be fully who you want to be and fully who you are. And when you are fully who you are meant to be and fully whoever you are, it allows other people to show up that way as well. So I think so many people are walking in so many limitations and we're living like half who we are. And everyone's like, well, I'm showing up halfway too, because I feel like I can't show up fully in this situation because no one else is. But when somebody chooses to show up, it's offensive. It feels offensive. It's kind of like, oh no, well, something about that girl I don't like. She's too confident. She's too fierce. She's too whatever. But that's its own, that flips it back to you. Like, why is that pushing a button in yourself? Like, what are you longing to show up as, but you feel like you can't, you know? And so I feel like that's what the biggest advice I would tell myself or anybody is choosing to respect yourself, because you showing up as you are is respecting yourself the best way possible compared to showing up as not who you are, if that makes sense. I really could go into this all day just because I feel like my heart truly breaks for people who feel like they're not enough, who feel like they're unworthy, feel like they have to earn something in order to have some proof of love or just worthiness or something like that. And that, to me, that was me all of my life. And I recently just did a workshop, and I was walking people through this process. And I was telling them just to find, because we all have like core lies that we believe about ourselves, core things that show up. So like, right, I'm not enough, or I'm unworthy, whatever. And finding out where that came from. But we all have kind of that moment when that pops up, and I'm like, okay, for me, it's like when I was 4, and I felt like I had to prove my worthiness in order to get love from my parents, which was my own thoughts, wasn't something they told me, but some people have been told that. And if you picture this like 4-year-old girl saying like, well, I'm 27 now, but this 4-year-old girl being like, we're not enough, we have to prove that we're enough, we have to prove our worthiness, we have to prove all of these things. You have so much more compassion than hating this part of yourself, you know? Like we have to have compassion and loving all of our parts and having grace for all of our parts and bringing them all, welcoming them all into the table in order for us to, like, in my opinion, show up fully. Not saying we're taking on those parts, but just being like, I hear you. The part that feels like you're enough, like I hear you and I see you. And I validate that feels so real right now. But in this situation, like, we're safe. We're allowed to show up fully, and we actually need to show up fully. And anyway, sometimes people ask me questions and I say so many different things, and I'm hoping this all makes sense. But anyway,
like, honest to God, that was so good. That was so good. And everything you were saying was just mic drop after mic drop after mic drop. And I remember, so like I said, in the intro, me and Joy met in an Arrive accountability group because we both listened to the Don't Keep Your Day Job podcast by Kathy Heller. And I remember on this podcast, I can't remember who the guest was. I think I don't know. I can't remember who the guest was, but I remember her talking about that, inviting all parts of you to the table. The like
Amber Ray.
Was it Amber Ray?
I know she said so. I have her book too.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. Just because I couldn't, but just when you said that, I immediately went back to that. And that's something that I think about a lot. And what she means by like bringing all parts of you to the table, the parts of you that you like and the parts of you that you don't like. So for me, in order to really work through, because I used to be a total rage addict, like anger was the only emotion I knew how to feel. I didn't know I was allowed to feel anything else. And I had to, once I went on this healing journey, I stuffed my anger self for a long time, which didn't help anybody, because that's like putting a Mentos in a Coke bottle and putting the lid on it. Like, eventually it's going to explode. But I just remember hearing that, and I had to take a moment and go, okay, I have to allow myself to invite angry Karleigh to the table. I have to invite the abuse victim to the table. I have to invite the powerful, strong, and the weak, and like all of these things. And when you do that, it is so hard. It is so hard, because you're literally looking yourself in the face and forgiving yourself while also calling yourself out without beating yourself up. And y'all, this is a journey. Like, it does not happen overnight. It's a really great analogy, but we're not saying it like it's easy. Like, oh, just sit down and, have it all, just have a cup of coffee. It takes work. And it took a really long time for me to truly allow myself to process and accept the past angry me, because what I didn't realize is that past angry me had a very valid reasons to be angry. I was just so, I was so focused on the fact that everyone saw me as angry that it was a negative, and I just stuffed it, versus now I can embrace, I'm allowed to be angry, but I can also be happy. I can be sad and I can be joyful. I can be miserable, and then I can also pick myself back up and be resilient. having all of those things in one place is not talked about enough at all. But then also it's something that I feel like is glossed over in Pinterest quotes and inspirational shorts on, or like TikToks or whatever on Instagram. Like it's glossed over because it sounds fun, but no one actually wants to address the fact that it takes work.
Right. 100%. Yes. And even along the lines of that, like I've been seeing so many things, okay, Dr. Carolyn Leaf, love her and love her
Love
work.
her.
And she mentioned something in the sense of self-care. And I feel like even just as you're saying that, I just think it just really relates to this of self-care. We see it as like, oh, I'm having a bubble bath with my mimosa and just watching Netflix and just like chilling because I've earned that and whatever. You have, not saying you didn't, but self-care is not the bouginess, the butterflies and rainbows of loving yourself. Self-care is hard. Self-care is journaling. Self-care is calling yourself out and calling yourself higher and calling yourself to spaces that you may not want to see, but it's growth. And I feel like this whole like self-love and self-care movement, which are great. I'm not saying anything is wrong with those. I think we don't take care of ourselves, and that's something we should do. But also there's a lot more of the hard work in that part of it too, in order for you to really care for yourself. I wish I had the quote because she mentioned something in the sense of if self-care is not an escape, and I feel like a lot of people use that as like an escape of their hard week, or escape of all the things they're trying to avoid. And she says if we choose to have like a life full of like discipline, which is not a sexy word, but a life full of discipline, then we won't need to have a life where we feel like we have to escape with self-care, which something along those lines. But I was just like, thank you, doctor, because you're right. And I think we so often we escape because we're living weeks of overworking, for example, or living weeks of completely avoiding what our heart is saying, or all these emotions that we're trying to push down. And like, oh my gosh, I have a hard week. I need to just like have a bubble bath and just like zone out. And that's like fine. Not saying like you shouldn't do that every once in a while. I think that's nice. If you don't want to think too much, fine. But really there's a lot of work in self-care that was not talked about very often. And so I just wanted to piggyback on that because I really love what you just said.
Oh, I 100% agree. And that was a real revelation for me, because at some point, I think it was late 2019, early 2020, like that the realization hit that self-care is so much more than a face mask. I mean, self-care that can be part of it, right. But also like you have to remember, showering is not self-care. That's taking care of yourself. Like right. Doing your laundry, buying clothes that fit you, that's basic taking care of yourself. Self-care, like for example, for me last week, self-care for me was letting myself have a complete breakdown. Because I stuff. I don't like to break down, because I'm so scared that like if I break down, I'm so scared I'm never going to get back up. And so I stuff. And last week I just said, you know what? I lost it. I sent my poor friend probably 45 minutes worth of Snapchats. Like I sent her so many just of me. I hit a wall and I just lost it. It was a wall of burnout. It was a wall of like breakthrough, all of these things. And if I had not allowed myself to do that, I would not be here with good energy right now. I would probably be so resistant and so closed off and very smiley, but not real authentic energy. And self-care, we have to move beyond. Just like Joy said, we have to move beyond this concept of bubble baths and face masks. Self-care is saying no when you want to. Self-care is saying no, maybe when you want to, or maybe when you don't want to, but you know that it's going to be better for you to say no. Like self-care is setting boundaries. Self-care is doing the hard work. Self-care is getting a coach or getting a therapist, signing up it's doing something to better yourself.
Right.
Self-care takes work, and no one wants to hear that. I mean, and y'all heard it earlier, and you guys hear it from me all the time, but Joy said it herself. She said the word discipline, and you don't like that word, and everyone gets all pissy at that word, but it's true. Motivation is going to fail you. At some point, you're not going to want to do anything. But like, there are times where full disclosure, I don't want to eat. I'm still recovering from an eating disorder. I don't want to. But if I were not motivated to get up and make myself something, if I only ate when I felt motivated to go and actually fix myself food, I would probably starve. It's like, that desire is not in my brain. It's not something I want to do, but I know that I have to. And I mean, yeah, it's fun. Burgers are good, and like it's fun to have stir fry, but it's like that's a lot of work. It feels like so much. And something as simple as food is something that I have to be more disciplined with.
Right.
And if I only did it when I felt like it, I would not have the energy to do anything, and I would be very, very mean and very angry all the time.
That's so real.
I would love to. So we talked about this too, how we kind of like reconnected because I found you on TikTok where you went a little viral. Things went a little crazy. And I love your reels. I share so many of them. I love your TikToks. You have a way of sharing information that genuinely feels like I like to describe myself. I'm not the best friend you go to a bar with. I'm the big sister that takes you out for coffee and like lovingly smacks you upside the head to tell you to get your life together. You have this energy of being, I don't know, maybe it's the middle child. I don't know, but you have like this energy where it's just like, I want to come curl up in your lap and have you just like tell me I'm great all day long. Like you have like just this energy. That sounds so weird to say out loud, but it is a compliment.
I love it. No, thank you.
So on this talk of discipline over motivation, and now you're that's a bad word. You are making this into a business. You're working towards it. How do you continue to show up on the days that you just don't want to, when there is no motivation, when it's, I don't want to do a stupid reel that 2 people are going to see and I don't want to do it, but you do it anyway? Like what pulls you through to do that?
So there was a time, especially when I was just starting to, I don't know, in my head, I was like, I'm going to make it big on TikTok. Anyway, I'm not trying to do that anymore. But I did get burnt out because I was coming from a place of doing, and I was coming from a place of like having to do it in order to. If you do Enneagram, I'm a 3, which is achiever, and it's somebody who, like, I'm goal oriented. If you give me a project, I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to do incredible at it because I'm a perfectionist and all these things. And I was getting caught in the cycle of, oh my gosh, like this has to be perfect in order for me to show up. If it's not perfect, then I'm not showing up, which I felt stuck. So I took a week break of just doing everything. Like I didn't post on social media, I didn't do anything. So I needed to come back to myself and believing, for one, that I am enough and it doesn't need to be this elaborate thing. And something that Kathy, don't keep a day job person that we've talked about a couple times on here already, especially when I'm posting on Instagram, I am realizing that I'm literally posting something that's on my heart that day. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not like, sometimes if it comes up ahead of time, I'll think about it. Okay, this is good. I'll make this into something. But I think when I'm trying to make it genuine from who I am, what's coming from that. And even you saying that, like, it feels like you can just like come and like tell me whatever, and like that is a gift that I have. And I feel like that's something that when I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, okay, what is on my heart today? This is something that I want to share. This is something that like I feel like would be beneficial. And sometimes my reels, I remember one day I was really tired and I was like, okay, I want to make a reel on people thinking you're too much. And I literally was tired and I just like thought of 3 things. I'm like, this will be good. I don't know why. I just like, this is, yeah, thank you. Well, I don't know. It just kind of like came to me because I think a lot of things that I'm sharing, the things that people have told me are things that I have dealt with myself. And I'm like, what would I want to tell myself in 30 seconds in reality on this topic? From the things that I have posted, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people like, that really helped me. That was really helpful. And so I'm just thinking about, if this could help one person, then I will show up for that person. Like I'm not trying to get viral. I'm not trying to grow big or anything. I'm just trying to help one person. And so something's in my heart. I'm like, I'm sure this will be helpful for one person. And usually it is. And even if it's one person, I'm like, great. 3 people saw this video. That's awesome. One person commented. Great. I'm helping one person. That is awesome. That is my heart. I want this to be, somebody sees my video, somebody sees a post, and it's just like, that hit me and that actually really spoke to me today. Thank you for that. That's all I'm trying to do. And so I think that's what keeps me going. I'm like, oh, what if I'm not coming from a place of this needs to be perfect. This needs to be reaching thousands of people. I'm just like, I'm showing up today and I want to help one person. Who is this going to help? What do I want to say today? And that usually helps for me. Like I just try to post like 4 times a week. If I can get 5, great. But if 4 is like my ideal number. And so if I have nothing to say that day, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna find something that someone else said and post it on my story and call it good, because like I don't have anything today, and that's okay. I'm not gonna pressure myself to have to show up if nothing is coming out. But I'm just trying to be present just for one person, and that usually, I mean, that is what's been keeping me going, and it's been really helpful for me.
So when you said that you weren't going to pressure yourself to show up when there's nothing there, that applies to so much. Like it applies to social media, but it also applies. I can speak. I know words. It also applies to the recovery journey, or even any personal growth journey at all. I mean, I do think that there does need to be a level of discipline where it's like you need to show up consistently, even if it's 10 minutes a day, listening to like doing something to get your brain in the habit. But at the same time, for those of us who are achievers, I don't know, I can't remember my Enneagram number. I remember it's like the rare one. That's all I remember about it. But I don't remember what it is. But like for those of us who want to like get it right every single time, and we're all in, all or nothing, which is something that I'm really working on not doing anymore. But we go all in to the point that we burn out. And it's really important to realize that like, even when we're showing up for ourselves and we're on this journey, there does need to come a time where it's not all you focus on. That like you need to take a step back. Like it's okay to not read a personal development book for one day. Like it's okay to not journal for one day. Don't make it a habit, one day. But like it's okay. I finally got them journaling, and you're not allowed to stop. But like it's okay to step back, because a lot of people don't realize how much work and what a toll it takes on the brain to recover from these things. People don't realize like personal growth and healing from things that's not just a fun way to say it. It's literally healing. Like we can't see it, but our brain is literally rewiring and changing and healing from the wounds and scars that it has. And if we push it too hard, like you can keep walking on a broken ankle for a long time, but the more you do it, the worse it's going to get. And giving yourself that break and stepping back is so important.
Yeah. Yes. So exactly. And something, I mean, I'm quoting everybody apparently, because that's all I do. Dr. Caitlin Leaf was talking about as rest as well. And sometimes we can confuse like, oh, I'm being so lazy today and all this stuff. But she's like, ask your body why that's happening. And in a sense, because our body, we have to really be in tune, trying to be, it's all, that's work too, but be in tune of what your body's saying. Like, if you're feeling really tired today, it could just be because you have been working so mentally and emotionally hard on healing and all this stuff, and you need to take a rest. Like it's okay to take a day off and just like really figure out like what's going on, like what is, like why am I feeling so exhausted, why am I feeling so tired? And that could just be because like I'm exhausted, brain saying I'm exhausted, heart saying like I'm tired. Like it's just like, can we actually have the bubble bath and face mask today? You know what I mean? Like in reality, like that's really, it is all a part of self-care, but it's just really listening and being in tune of like, where is that coming from? Am I doing this as avoidance, or am I using this as like, I actually need a rest? And I think deciphering between those two is like really the key, at least for me. And that's not easy always, but figuring out like the more you do it, the more you're gonna realize, okay, no, this is actually me avoiding today, and I can't avoid it. I actually need to go into this process. Another part is like, actually, no, I'm actually really tired and I'm actually really exhausted. Nothing else is coming. Great. I'm taking the day off, and that's okay.
I want to talk about avoidance for a second, because that is so real. I first learned about avoidance on Brooke Castillo's The Life Coach School podcast. And there was another word that she was using alongside with avoidance. And it's basically a word to like you're like doing something instead of you're doing something to cause I don't know, I can't remember, but I remember I was listening to her podcast while playing a video game where I was procrastinating something, but I justified it's like, hey, if I'm playing a video game right now and I'm listening to a podcast, at least I'm listening, I'm doing something. Right. And this concept of avoidance, so I'm already getting way ahead of myself. So avoidance is just what it sounds like. It's avoiding taking on the task. And so what she was referring to is that you have to know, because there are times that we love to come up with excuses. The human race loves to come up with excuses. I am an excuse queen, and I call myself out on it all the time. And so you have to get really real you have to get really in tune with yourself, like Joy was saying, to know which one is happening in that moment, because you may not know right away. And it may take you a while to figure it out. Like for me, once I learned what avoidance was, I latched on to that concept so hard that I felt like if I wasn't going a mile a minute, I was avoiding. But going a mile a minute can also be avoidance, because I was going a mile a minute on my business and totally avoiding all of this personal development, growth, and work that I really needed to do by going a mile a minute. And it wasn't until like last week, the good Lord said, nope, it's happening. And I had a complete breakdown. I lost it. I was a mess. And it wasn't until after that that I was able to go, okay. And trying to avoid avoidance, I was acting in an avoidance way. And so the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of the time we don't want to face our demons. We don't want to face what we've been through. We don't want to deal with all of these things. And at some point, we are going to have to get strong, buck up, put on the big girl panties, and just go, while also recognizing that there's going to be a time where you need to stop. And unfortunately, part of that learning is, I personally feel like burnout is part of the journey, like, because you're not going to know until you get there. I don't advocate for it. I don't think anyone should actively try to burn out, but I also don't really think it's all that avoidable, because it's not something that you can, that you know what it feels like until it happens. And I remember listening, we're just quoting all the podcasts today. I remember listening to Jenna Kutcher's podcast a couple of years ago, and she was having this conversation. She's like, I so desperately want people to understand what burnout is and to avoid it. But at the same time, no one's going to know their threshold for burnout until it happens. And being aware and not being stubborn, like me, where I pushed myself to literally my breaking point, is so important, because you do need to have that rest, and then you have to be able to get back up and keep going. And finding the balance between the two takes work and trial and error, and you're going to get it wrong but a lot of times before you ever get it right. And committing to that journey and having the discipline, that word still there, is so important. But has there ever been a point in your journey where you felt like you were at that avoidance place, where you were kind of avoiding like the next level, or avoiding like a block that you hit, if that makes sense, like when you hit a wall?
Because I really am the type of person who, I'll go until I don't need to stop. And that's also the parts of me that feel like I have to work in order for me to feel worthy. That is a lot. I've come to the place now where I'm working more, but I'm in tune with what like my parts are. And so I know when the part of me that felt like the worthiness part that comes almost all the time, like every day, when that part comes up, that's when I know I'm probably going to work the most. Especially with this job that I have right now, I feel like I have a certain amount of clients that they're assigned to me from my agency, and I have to like, my job is like to call them or see them face to face like every week, once a week if we can, or more if it comes up. And so sometimes that part of me, we have free reign to kind of do what we want. My boss isn't like over my shoulder or anything, but a part of me is just like, oh my gosh, like he needs to see that I'm working like 8 of those 8 hours, even though I do not have to work 8 of those 8 hours. I'm actually supposed to like probably do maybe more like 5, and then sometimes there's notes, and other parts is just like the normal rest time, of course, and eating lunch and doing whatever. But I think I was feeling like I needed to prove a point. I needed to prove, like I needed him to see that I'm a really hard worker in order for him to see my value, in order for me to have worth. That's the bottom line of what was happening. And so I overworked myself to the point where I was like, I will quit this job right now. Like, and this is the only source of income we have, so we actually cannot do that. But it felt so overwhelming, just because I was feeling like I needed to prove a point, which pushes me to overwork, which just me to my burnout. And then it's just like, I needed to pace myself and not to feel like I needed to really prove a point. Like, I think that's where my burnout always comes from. Like, I'm feeling like I need to always prove that I'm worth something to somebody. Nobody else is watching me. I'm proving it apparently to myself. And that's the never ending battle, because I'm trying to fight against my own self, and who wins there? No one. And so I will always like for any aspect of my life, when it even comes to like building this business, me working on my website that I've talked to you about this before. Like I'm, sexy has not been done yet, but that's okay. But like I will feel like I need to overdo everything in order for me to feel like I'm enough. And then I'll know I'm burning out because I'll cry and I will be extremely tired and I'll feel like I can't do anything at all the next day. And now that I've done that so many times, I'm realizing I'm able to catch it before it gets there now. I'm like, okay, that part is speaking so loudly right now. So what do I need to do in order for that not to be the case? A lot of the times for me, it's taking a step back and being like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm actually not going to finish this right now. I'm going to do this and come back to it later when I'm actually in a space where I'm able to show up fully and not have that part be the one that's talking the loudest right now. So yeah, that's like a never ending, I'm getting better now, but it really is like a never ending battle of a constant, that thing I'm working on, I should say. Not a never ending battle because I am powerful, but it's something that I'm still working on.
Yes, and
when
amen.
it comes up. So yeah.
That is something that, and I try to bring this up with every guest, that I talk about it myself all the time, but now it's like I'm the mom and they hear it from me all the time. So when they hear it from someone else, like it's just better. But it's just like, you're still in it. Like you're able to help people, but you're still in it. So it's like, we're not coming to you from this place of we've got it all figured out and we're done and we're better.
Right.
We have just figured out some things. Like we see our purpose, like we see the light out there and we're going to fight to get it. And we want you to do the same. So, because I am really adamant about, like, I cannot stand people who think they've got it all figured out, because the moment someone thinks that they've got it all figured out and they're all done and they've got nothing else, they need some therapy and they need some really big journal prompts or something to like pull them out of it. Because I have come a really long way, but I'm still in it. I did not realize how much my worth was still attached to my productivity and was still attached to what I could get out of a day, about how busy I am. Dear God, I am still stuck in this like busy as a badge mindset. I didn't realize I was still in it until last week. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like really? We're still here? We're still here. And I say that carefully, not because I want to give you an excuse, you, the wonderful, beautiful, amazing listener. I don't want to give you an excuse to stop, but I also want you to realize that this is a journey and we're all on it. And it is so worth it. Joy's still in it, but she's literally going to help other people do it. I'm still in it, and I'm still working through. I'm at a whole new level right now. And I'm facing demons that I have no idea what to do with. That's all part of the journey. And the key is that discipline. As much as it's not sexy, it's not fun, it's not entertaining, it's irritating, it's not a magic bullet, but it's discipline and consistency. And you just have to just keep going when you don't want to, because you have to keep that why. Like Joy's got her why for her business for that one person. Same thing for me. I continue to show up. I literally created this business as an accountability like group for me, because now it's like, I can't just go back, and I'm not about to be a hypocrite. So I can't, say all of these things and not do it myself. And so selfishly, I did this for me. So you have to figure out what you need to do to find your why. If that why is your kid, if that why is a family member, if that why is a little girl that you see at the Boys and Girls Club, if your why is just you, like whatever your why is so important. Because there are like Joy, like, do you think that she went from like this burnout place to recognizing that she has to step away? It's not easy to step away, right? When you want to keep going. And and that is something, actually, and I wanted to ask you about that too, before I got on my little rant there. I relate to so much of what you're saying, not to the same capacity, but I can definitely relate to like the productivity and the wanting to keep going. I still struggle with being in that mindset of I just have to get it done. I've got to keep going. I can't stop. And you said that like you figured out how you have to step away and then come back when you're in a better headspace. How long I don't know, maybe that's personal. How long did it take before you were like, okay, I have to do it this way? Or was there like a breaking point? Was it like a snap decision? You're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Was it an evolution?
Honestly, it's probably being married to my husband, because he's a lot more lax and chill than I am. And I honestly appreciate it now. But I think for me, it's a Saturday and I'm like, okay, I need to clean, I need to do whatever, I need to do something because apparently I can't sit still. And he could just sit, chill, be on his phone, do whatever. And I'd be pissed. I'm like, why are you not doing something? And he's like, I don't have to do anything. I'm like, yes, in my head, like, of course you don't have to do anything. Yes, babe. But another part of me is just like,
yes, you do.
yes, you do. Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you feel like you can just sit and do whatever? And I think it was really rubbing me the wrong way because I didn't feel like I don't feel like I was worthy enough to do that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the freedom to just sit and relax and just like take a step away and just actually like take a mental day or just like take a couple hours and just like be with yourself. I felt like I couldn't do that because I needed to prove somebody apparently. And it was something we would have different arguments and different things like that. And he's like, why do you feel like you needed, like, why do I feel like I have to always do something when you're around? And I'm like, dang, that is so true. You don't. And so I think it really smacked me in the face of like, it hit me. I'm like, why do I feel the need to tell him that he needs to do something on a day that he doesn't have to do anything? Or if he doesn't have to do anything at all, why do I feel the need to do that? And so I think that it was definitely that realization of like, wow, I feel like I always am consistently having to do something, which leads to all of my like burnouts or leads to all of my frustrations or just like I have nothing else to give. And so I think us being married, I'm putting him because he's sitting there, sorry. Us being married definitely helped me see, I mean, any relationship you're in is a reflection. It gives you like a magnifying glass of it's like, oh, these are all the things that you need to work on. And it's so fun. And not at all. And so I think, well, that was just like a big magnifying glass to my face of just like, nope, the problem is you, it's not him. He can do whatever he wants. He has the freedom and he actually has the freedom to be who he is and just to chill and just to like do nothing. And I am still discovering that of like, okay, what does it look like to just like do nothing and just to like sit with myself? And okay, that thought comes up of like, oh, you're lazy. Oh, you can't just sit there and do nothing. Who do you think you are? Who do you like? Okay. But we started living together recently through the green card process and this whole thing. And so I think these last couple of like past like 6-7 months has really been a smack in my face of just like, oh wow, I've never actually seen you just like chill all the time because we're living together now. So that was my big smack in the face of like, okay, there's something that needs to change in me because I'm obviously don't have freedom in this area and I need to have freedom in this area because I'm going to be working and doing different things the rest of my life. And if I can't chill, I'm never going to have peace in my mind. So yeah.
I love how you said that you have the freedom and like you want the freedom. He has like the word freedom really like hits hard. And I have found, and I'm sure some men deal with it too. Don't come at me. I don't want to deal with it. But like as a whole, I feel like women really struggle with that. We feel like we always have to be doing something. We have to earn our worth somehow. Whether it's earning it, like I mean, gonna get a little dark here, but like whether it's earning it physically, like I learned very young that how do you earn love? You give it physically to another human being. You earn it with productivity. You earn it with raising a bunch of kids. You earn it with how you look. We always feel like we're trying to earn it and we don't have the freedom to just exist.
Yeah.
And it's this prison. And the frustrating thing is that we're in a cage and it's a locked cage, but we're holding the key.
Yep.
Like it's just this cage that like we've locked ourselves in and we're like, oh my gosh, no, I want out. But we can't even bang on the door properly because we're holding the flipping key in our hand.
Right.
And this is such, I mean, that's like, I think the core of that all of us are trying to do is just like give the freedom back and just show women that like, we're allowed to be like just existing today. You won. Yep. Like you literally chose to wake up today. You didn't have to do that. Choosing to wake up is very difficult. I have personal experience with not wanting to and being very upset. It's like by existing, you've won the day. By doing anything for yourself, you've won the day. Like we've got to stop chasing what we feel like we have to earn freedom when it's right there. It's right there. And Anyway, the way you said that got me all emotional. Dear goodness. Okay. Well, you got me all up in my feels, Joy.
No, your words are powerful, because I that's just like everything that I want to encompass, even in my life, and what I want to help other people to experience as well. It's like, you literally are enough every single moment of the day. You're enough when you wake up in the morning. You're enough when you didn't do anything or did something wrong or whatever. You're enough, period. There's not if you or but or nothing. You're enough just by existing. And I just think, I love how you said that, because I think, yes, so many people, so many women specifically, feel like we're not enough. We have to prove to be enough by, yes, how many kids we have, our education, our like having sex, like our relationships, like all these things. Like, this is proving I'm enough because I'm pleasing him, I'm doing whatever. No, stop. No, you're enough, period. And that's like, oh my gosh, yes, because I'm really hoping you're hearing like the passion in our voices, because it's so real, and it's something that obviously both of us have walked through, still walking through, of just knowing that like our worth doesn't come from anything outside of who we are. It's everything we have is exactly enough for every situation that we're going to be in, and that's like it. And anyway, sorry, you got me in a rant, because I just, the passion you're saying, I'm just like, yep.
Oh, I am digging it. I love it. And I share this quote all the time, but it always gives me chills. And I did my makeup. I don't want to cry. Okay, I'm not going to do it. But I heard this on Brooke Castillo's The Life Coach School podcast. I have learned so much from listening to that podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's really good. But it wasn't even making a comment. She said that, I punched my mic. She said, I don't want to butcher her words, but it was something along the lines of, you will never be more worthy than you are in this moment. There is nothing you could have done in the past to make yourself more worthy. There's nothing you could do in the future to make yourself less worthy. Worth is inherent. It's yours because you exist. If something is on your heart, it's because you're worthy of it. If you weren't worthy of it, you wouldn't want that. Like, and I know we're talking about women, but it's also like, this is so effing pervasive. My 6-year-old tells me all the time that he doesn't feel like he's important, and he feels like he's not enough, and he feels like he can't do these things. And I hear it from my friends' kids. I hear it from, I have 3 younger siblings, and all of their friends love me. And for a long time, I'm not a fan of teenagers. I went to school to be a high school teacher, and then I realized teenagers are not, I love them from a distance. But anyway, so I would always have these kids flocking to me, and it was always so annoying to me growing up. But like, now I look back and I hear these things that they were telling me, and it was always the underlying thing of it all was, I'm not worthy. I am not enough. And I am not worthy is so much. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of existence. I'm not worthy of life. I am not This is why we do what we do. It's not because it's a fun quote card to put on Pinterest. Like, there are a million other things that we could be doing if all we wanted to do was make money. There are a million other things we wanted to do if all we wanted was clout. This is because this is real and it's pervasive. And I am so sick and tired of seeing kids, adults. I am sick and tired of seeing my 6-year-old son poke at his belly and question his existence, where he doesn't feel like his body's good enough. I am sick of 70, 80, 90-year-old adults wishing that they would have done more with their lives because they didn't feel like they could do it, that they weren't worthy of it. Like, you are worthy because you exist. Yeah. Like, it's said a lot, but it's like, the fact that we are here is a miracle. There's a whole lot of people in the world, but there are a whole lot more people who aren't in the world. There are a whole lot of babies that didn't make it. There are a whole lot of pregnancies that didn't go through, but you did. And I don't say that to be dark. I don't say that to be true, but it's just like, I want you to realize the gravity of your existence. Because the fact that you exist is proof that there is hope in the world. Because I can never see the world like Joy does. Joy can never see the world like I do. I can never see the world like my son does. I can never see the world like you do. Like, you're here for a reason. And if you weren't important, if you weren't worthy, if you weren't wanted, you wouldn't be here. And that is something that needs to get through our thick, stubborn skulls and break through all of society's bullshit. Anyway, there's my own little rant on that, because it's just, I remember, totally good going off here. We're going to be wrapping up here in a minute, but I remember a year ago, a friend of mine and I went to a personal development event. And part of the personal development event, I think it was like the second day in, is we got into small groups and we had our notebooks and we had to write down a minimum of 20 things that we liked about ourselves or something like that. I had been doing work on myself for a little over like about 2 years at this point, I think. I had a good list because I was like, man, I've learned how to do this. I've learned how to pick out things. My friend had 2 things. We had 5 minutes and all she could come up with was 2 things that she liked about herself. That was it. Oh man, just thinking about it, it makes me emotional. Anyway. But I just remember being there in this group with strangers. They didn't know her, they didn't know me, but within seconds, every single one of these strangers were coming up with reasons why she was great and what they loved about her energy, the vibe they got when she walked in the room, the way that she made everyone feel important, like all of these things. She left with over 45 things on her list.
Wow.
And a handful did come from me. I encouraged a lot, but a majority of it came from those strangers. So if strangers can see her worth, but she can't, what type of glasses are we wearing?
Yeah.
Like, this is God. And this is why you need joy in your life. This is why you need me in your life, because we love you too much to let you stay there, because you are worth so much more. So as I am ranting, as I'm going off, is there anything else that you would like to share to the woman who's listening to this right now, who says, oh, that's good for her, but it's not for me?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Sorry, that was really
No. I just like that. My heart feels my heart's just really connected to what's happening right now. Yeah, I will say it until I'm blue in the face, but I think we've all have been told in different ways, or it could be from our family, from our society, from our culture, from our faith, from whatever, that we've had to fit into these boxes in order to find our worth, in order to be enough, in order to be perfect, in order to be all these things. And I think that we've subconsciously taken on these thoughts and these roles and these lies of how to fit into everything in order to be enough. And I'm just like, I'm hoping from anything you've taken from what we've said in this past hour, or however long this really is, especially when it's edited down, that those boxes are, the norms and the boxes were created by people, but it's not something that's like finite. I don't even know if that's the right word I'm using, but like, if you have something that's been on your heart, if you feel something of like, oh, like something that we've said have resonated, or something that like at all in this past hour has just like you've been feeling your heart beating a little bit faster, that's because this is for you, and this is, your heart is responding to this because this is something that, you know, you're supposed to be called higher. We're calling you higher to who you're supposed to be. You are, whoever's listening to this podcast, you are just, I don't even know, like there's just so many things that are on my mind right now, on my heart, but I just want to say that yes, you are worthy. Yes, you are enough. And the things that are on your heart have not been placed there by accident, but they're placed there for a reason. The work that, like, Karleigh, for one, that you're doing, and like the people who are listening to Karleigh's podcast, like, I'm just feeling like the heaviness and like the gravitation, I don't even know, of this moment. I just feel like this is significant.
I really feel like there's someone who really needs this right now. Like,
yeah,
I truly feel like it's going to be one person that desperately needs this moment. So I totally feel what you mean as far as the heaviness, because it got just like, that got intense, man.
if you're hearing this, like you are worthy, you are enough, and things that you're feeling, like this is not you're not listening to this podcast on accident. And so I just want you just to respond to whatever you're feeling, and to really grab a hold of the words that we've said on this, and like reach out to Karleigh, because listen, this girl's a queen, and the things that she says and the things she's doing, like I'm like, I love everything you're doing and everything that you have been posting, and I know this is helping so many people, and I'm just so excited to see like all that you like walk into, and the things that you create, I think are going to be just really, really, really powerful. And I from the moment I met you, I knew that was going to be the case. Like you have something really big that you are going to be unlocking in a lot of people, and I'm really excited to see what that is. So
I don't know. I have a full face on, and she's cried. Thank you for that. That means a lot. And I know we're running. We gotta wrap up here, but I want to take a second and not capitalize, not the right word, but I want to take advantage of this moment, because there was a really long time where I wouldn't have been able to accept a compliment like that. Like I couldn't even process it, because I thought I was the person who encouraged everybody else, but it wasn't for me. Like when you're scrolling TikTok and you get to those videos that are like, hey, stop scrolling, you're beautiful, you're amazing, and I'm proud of you. It's like, man, that's making somebody's day. That's so great for somebody. That's so great for them, but that's not for me. No one would ever say that to me. No one would ever want that. And that is something that I am still actively working through and working on accepting. But just the way that you said that, one, it was done in a way where I couldn't even, like, what am I going to do? Say no? Like, there's no real but it's also, I don't know, I truly appreciate that. But I also want to just, you, the listener, I want you to really hear that, because I've talked a lot on here about how compliments are a really big deal, and not just compliments in the sense of like your hair looks nice, but compliments like Joy just gave when she's talking about my mission and validating what I'm doing. Like, these things are important, and it's for you. What she said was for me. It was a gift that she gave me. She didn't miswrite my name on the name tag. She didn't, accidentally give it to me, but it's for my sister. It's for me. So the things that we're saying here are for you, not for anybody else. They're for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it may be great for your sister to hear. Give her the link to the podcast, but this is for you. It may be great for your grandma. Give her the podcast, but this is for you. We have got to get out of this mindset that it's great for everybody else, but it's wrong to accept it for us.
Come on. Yeah.
Because I feel like we have like 10 different sermons today, and we just keep going, and I am so here for it. Oh man, I sound like one of them kids now. I am here for it. Anyway, so as we're finally wrapping up here, where can everybody find you and everything that is Joy? Anyway, no pun intended, but pun intended a little bit.
So you can find me on Instagram. So it's at Joy Rossignol. My last name is French, so because of my husband. So Rossignol, all one word, all lowercase, all that. And I think I'm the same on TikTok. If you do, you don't need to follow my TikTok. Honestly, Instagram is where I really do all of my stuff. And if it's something on TikTok, I'm probably posting on Instagram anyway. So that is the main place you can find me.
We're going to have all of those links in the show notes. You can go catch up with Joy. And then what I would love for you to do is take a screenshot, tag me, tag Joy, so we can reshare it and we can thank you personally. And if anything we said stood out, DM one of us, both of us, whatever. We are here for you. We check our DMs personally, and we are here to lift you up and show up for you any way we can. So thank you so much, Joy. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And I am so glad we had to talk today.
Definitely. Thank you so much for letting me be on here. I loved this. This was awesome.